Amber Pereira. Investigators say Amber Pereira was intoxicated when she caused a chain reaction wreck that killed 3 members of the Felipac family. Pereira was driving on the Selman Expressway when she hit Luis Felipe, his wife Rita, and their 8-year-old daughter, Georgia. She pleaded guilty to driving under the influence during the fiery wrong-way crash. Pereira lost control of her car, hit the Felipac's car, and sent it into the westbound lanes, where it was hit by 2 other cars and burst into flames. Police said Pereira kept driving and was arrested later after her car couldn't go any further because of the damage. At first, it was thought Pereira claimed she suffered from a seizure, but she was later charged with DUI manslaughter. DUI was serious bodily injury, leaving the scene of a crash involving death and destruction of evidence. Investigators say she had been drinking and was driving her car at speeds over 100 miles an hour before the crash. The sad case could ultimately make it safer for others traveling the same stretch of road. Pereira wiped away tears just before Circuit Court Judge Christopher Sabella sentenced the 31-year-old to 5 decades behind bars. The price for causing a fiery wreck that killed Gus, Rita, and 8-year-old Georgia Felipac. Olivia Cardley Coolbreath. Olivia Carol Lee Coolbreath had been drinking in the early morning of February 9, 2014. She was a new mom. Coolbreath was 21 years old and had given birth only 11 days earlier. She drove against oncoming traffic on the 57 and 60 freeways at speeds of up to 100 miles per hour. Coolbreath's car slammed into a Ford Explorer on the westbound 60 freeway, killing 4 people from 3 generations of the same family in the SUV. 2 passengers in Coolbreath's Camaro, her sister and her best friend, were also killed in the 3-vehicle pileup. Some California Highway Patrol officers said it was one of the worst crashes they had ever seen. Coolbreath's blood alcohol content was measured at 0.15% about 3 hours after the crash. According to evidence presented at a preliminary hearing, Coolbreath had previously been arrested for DUI resulting in a collision. She was warned by the court about the dangers of driving under the influence of alcohol and also was admonished that such future conduct could result in murder charges. She was convicted in May after pleading to no contest to 6 counts of second-degree murder to avoid a trial that would further traumatize the grieving families of the victims. Her son, now 5 years old, had only seen his mother in jail. Coolbreath said no matter the prison time, she would continue to punish herself for the rest of her life. Charlessia Pelt. Charlessia Pelt is charged with reckless driving causing death, 3 counts of second-degree child abuse, and 3 counts of operating while intoxicated. Authorities have said that Michael Jones was not properly restrained in a child's car seat in the rear of a minivan. The bearer threw a red light and struck a car. The collision ejected the boy into the street, where the minivan rolled back over him. He was pronounced dead at a hospital. 2 other children in the minivan escaped serious injury. 28-year-old Charlessia Pelt was given her punishment in a Detroit courtroom. The Detroit woman apologized in court to her family, pleading for forgiveness. Michelle Lake. A woman who previously served a prison sentence for a drunk driving crash that killed a man was sentenced to 10 years in prison Wednesday for another crash she caused while driving high. Judge Patrick Dingelacker sentenced 35-year-old Michelle Lake for 1 count each of vehicular assault and aggravated vehicular assault during an emotional hearing that included testimony from Lake, the father of her child, and one of the victims. Lake was driving north on Lafayette Avenue in Westwood at about 9:32 a.m. on December 6, 2018, when she went left of center and hit an oncoming vehicle, seriously injuring the driver and a front seat passenger. Authorities found cocaine, fentanyl, and methadone in Lake's system at the time, and her driver license has been suspended after her 2006 drunk driving crash that killed a passenger in her car. Judge gave Lake 8 years in prison for the aggravated vehicular assault charge and 2 years for the vehicular assault charge, to be served consecutively. Additionally, her driver license suspended for life. Rebecca Doherty. The Ohio Supreme Court had publicly reprimanded a Portage County judge accused of using her position to avoid being arrested for drunk driving. Doherty had been drinking before driving her SUV into a ditch along Interstate 76 in February. Doherty, who police say admitted that she had been drinking, said several times that she was a judge. According to police, Doherty performed only 1 field sobriety test and refused a breathalyzer test. Doherty pleaded guilty to DUI 5 days later and was sentenced to 3 days in a driver's intervention program. Her driver's license was suspended until February of this year, but the judge granted her limited driving privileges. Eric Millerberg and Dia Millerberg. A Utah man who authorities say injected his 16-year-old babysitter with a fatal dose of heroin and methamphetamine, then took his infant daughter along when he and his wife dumped the teen's body near a river. Eric Millerberg had a drug-fueled sexual relationship with Alexis Rasmussen that led to the girl's death in 2011. Millerberg had pleaded not guilty to felony child abuse homicide. His wife, Dia Millerberg, says her husband gave Rasmussen the fatal mix of drugs. Rasmussen's badly decomposed body was recovered about a month after her death near the Weber River in Morgan County. Dia Millerberg had testified that the babysitter had become disoriented after being injected once with heroin and twice with methamphetamine. The girl took a bath to warm her body and rested on a bed, but she wasn't breathing 30 minutes later when the couple checked on her. Dia Millerberg, a nurse, says she tried but couldn't revive the girl, then dressed and helped put her body in a footlocker in the trunk of their car. The Millerbergs left their 6-year-old daughter behind, put an infant daughter in their car, and drove off to dispose of the babysitter's body. Dia Millerberg was emotional and apologetic at her hearing, telling a hearing officer she was so sorry for involvement in the girl's death and that she was at a loss for how to make up for her wrongdoings. Nathaniel Brazil. As a child, Brazil was surrounded by domestic abuse and alcoholism at home, and local police frequently responded to calls from the Brazil residents. On May 26, 2000, the last day of school before students were to start their summer break, Brazil was a 13-year-old student at the school. Brazil was sent home early for throwing a water balloon. He returned with a gun, which he had stolen from a family friend, and went to Barry Grenau's English arts classroom, demanding to see 2 female classmates. When Grenau refused to let Brazil speak to them, Brazil shot him point blank in the face and watched him die in front of his classroom door. After the shooting, he ran. Other students testified that he pointed a gun at a teacher as he fled. At his trial, Brazil told the jury he never meant to pull the trigger. He received a sentence ranging from 25 years to life in prison. That was it for today's video. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to our channel and hit the like button.